Ever get that feeling? You're talking to someone
Mm-hmm.
and their words just don't match their vibe.
Yeah, definitely.
Almost like there's this whole hidden conversation going on beneath the surface.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's exactly what we're diving deep into today. The world of masks.
Oh,
Those
interesting.
carefully crafted personas we all wear to navigate the social world.
It's funny you should mention that
We're
because...
about to expose those secrets hiding behind those masks, the
Okay.
tiny cracks that reveal what people are really thinking and feeling.
It's fascinating because we often miss those crucial signals,
Right.
those subtle leaps in the performance.
Yeah,
Because we're so focused on the words people are saying.
right. We get caught up in the actual words.
Exactly. But think about it.
Yeah.
How many times have you had that gut feeling about someone,
Oh, yeah, all the time.
even though they were saying all the right thing?
Totally.
That's your intuition picking up on those nonverbal cues.
Interesting.
Those inconsistencies between, what's said and what's truly meant.
So we're talking about a whole secret language running in the background of our interactions.
Exactly. And you know what? Research actually suggests that up to 65% of communication
What?
is nonverbal.
Wow.
That means most of us are only getting a fraction of the message.
Seriously.
It's like watching a movie with the sound off.
Oh, I see what you're saying. So that explains why sometimes things just feel off.
Right.
Even when logically everything seems fine, we're just missing that crucial nonverbal context.
Exactly.
Okay, but why do we even wear these masks in the first place? Is it all about deception?
Well, not necessarily. It's definitely more complex than that.
Okay.
We wear masks for a variety of reasons.
Right? Yeah.
Sometimes it's about self-preservation, like
Like what?
avoiding conflict
Oh, okay.
or fitting into a particular social group.
Oh, makes sense.
Other times it's more about power dynamics.
Like,
Think about how differently you might act in front of your boss
oh, yeah.
versus just hanging out with your friends.
Right. It's like we instinctively adapt our behavior depending on who we're with
Yeah.
and what we want to achieve.
Exactly. And, if we trace this back to our evolutionary roots.
Like way back.
Yeah, way back. It actually makes perfect sense.
Oh, how so?
Just think about it. In
Yeah.
prehistoric times, being ostracized from your tribe was practically a death sentence.
Really?
Yeah, you needed the group for survival.
Right.
So even though we're not facing, saber-toothed tigers anymore,
Yeah.
our brains are still kind of wired to fear social rejection.
So even though the stakes aren't as high now, we're still walking around with this ancient survival mechanism
Exactly.
that makes us want to fit in, even if it means hiding parts of ourselves.
Exactly. And that fear of standing out, it can be incredibly powerful,
Right.
leading us to conform,
Yeah.
to wear masks that help us blend in,
Mhm.
even when we might actually disagree or feel differently on the inside.
It's making me think about those times when I've agreed with something just to avoid, rocking the boat,
Yeah, totally.
even though I really felt differently deep down.
It happens to all of us.
It's almost like we're all actors on a stage,
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
trying to play the role that's expected of us.
Yeah, we're all playing roles to some extent. I think the key is to become aware of those roles.
Right.
And to choose which masks we wear
Okay.
rather than letting them control us unconsciously.
So we've established that everyone wears masks, and these masks serve different purposes,
Yeah.
from survival to social climbing to just plain old conflict avoidance.
Uh-huh.
But if we're all hiding behind these facades, how can we possibly learn to see through them?
Good question.
Is there a way to actually crack the code of human behavior?
Absolutely. It's all about becoming a student of human nature,
Okay.
It starts with understanding that even the most skilled mask wearers, right?
Yeah.
They can't completely hide their true feelings and intentions.
Really?
There are always leaks.
Leaps.
Subtle inconsistencies that betray what's really going on beneath the surface.
Oh, interesting. So we're talking about those moments when someone's words don't quite match their tone of voice?
Yeah, exactly.
Or their body language is telling a different story than their carefully crafted words.
Exactly. We call this leakage.
Leakage. Okay.
And the better someone is at masking, the more subtle these cues will be.
I see.
It's like trying to spot, a master spy.
Right.
They're experts at blending in and concealing their true motives.
So how do we become those super sleuths of human behavior? Where do we even begin?
Well, I think it starts with shifting your focus.
Okay.
Instead of getting caught up in what people are saying,
Right.
pay attention to how they're saying it.
Gotcha.
Notice those micro expressions.
What are those?
Those, fleeting habitual movements that
Mhm.
reveal emotions they might be trying to suppress.
Like a flicker of annoyance that flashes across their face even though they're saying they're fine.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Or a tightening of the lips when they're trying to appear calm.
I see.
A subtle shift in posture that, betrays their discomfort.
So it's like we need to become hyper aware of those tiny details that most people miss.
Precisely. And it's not just about facial expressions. Pay attention to their voice.
Mm.
Does their tone become higher or more strained when they talk about a certain topic?
Yeah, yeah.
Do they start, speaking faster
Right.
or hesitate more frequently?
Oh, that's interesting.
So we're listening for those vocal inconsistencies,
Right.
those telltale signs that something's not quite right.
Gotcha.
You got it. And don't forget about body language.
Oh, right, yeah.
Is their body aligned with their words?
Okay.
Or are there discrepancies? Are they
Mhm.
fidgeting, crossing their arms, or subtly leaning away?
Oh, that's fascinating.
These nonverbal cues can reveal volumes about their true feelings.
This is already making me think about some of my own interactions differently.
Really?
Like, I'm picturing that colleague who always says, they're on board with the new project,
Yeah.
but then avoids eye contact and fidgets nervously whenever it's mentioned.
Interesting.
Maybe their nonverbals are saying something totally different.
Exactly. And the more you practice paying attention to these subtle cues,
Mm-hmm.
the more you'll start to pick up on those patterns and inconsistencies.
Okay.
It's like developing a sixth sense for reading people.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. This is fascinating.
Is it?
It's like we're unlocking a whole new level of understanding about human behavior.
Right.
But I have to admit, I'm also feeling a bit overwhelmed.
Yeah, I can see how it would be.
There's just so much to pay attention to.
There is.
How do we avoid, getting lost in the details and missing the bigger picture?
Well, that's where context comes in. It's
Yes.
not just about noticing individual cues in isolation.
Uh,
It's about understanding how those cues fit together within a particular situation.
right.
You need to consider the person, their relationship to you, and the overall dynamics of the interaction.
Right. Like, for example, if someone is normally very expressive,
Yeah,
but suddenly becomes withdrawn and quiet,
right.
that could be a sign that something's wrong. Whereas for someone who's naturally more reserved,
Yeah,
it might just be their normal behavior.
exactly. You need to establish a baseline for someone's usual behavior to
Okay.
accurately interpret those deviations.
So we're learning to become like detectives of human behavior,
Exactly.
gathering clues from those subtle leaks in people's masks.
Exactly.
But how do we go from simply noticing those cues to actually understanding what they mean?
Well, that's where observation meets analysis.
Analysis of
It's
it.
about connecting those nonverbal cues
Mm.
to the context of the situation and the person's overall behavior patterns.
This is making me think about a situation with a former roommate.
Oh, roommates.
Yeah.
They can be tough.
Tell me about it.
A breeding ground for miscommunication and mixed signals.
It really is.
Tell me more. What were some of the red flags you were picking up on?
Well, on the surface, she seemed super friendly
Okay.
and outgoing,
Yeah.
always offering to help out
Mm-hmm.
and initiating conversations.
Right.
But then there are these little things,
Like what?
like how her smile never quite reached her eyes,
Ah, interesting.
or how her voice would get tight whenever I brought up certain topics.
Those are classic examples of leakage.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that forced smile, that tension in her voice.
Yeah.
They suggest she might have been harboring some, resentment or discomfort
Mm-hmm.
that she wasn't expressing directly.
And the thing is, I kept second-guessing myself,
Oh, I see.
thinking maybe I was overanalyzing
Yeah.
or misinterpreting things.
It's natural to doubt yourself, especially when you're dealing with someone who's skilled at masking.
Right.
But trust your instincts.
Okay.
Often, our intuition picks up on those inconsistencies
Really?
before our conscious mind fully processes them.
Huh. So it's about tuning into that gut feeling, that sense that something's not quite adding up, even if we can't articulate why.
Exactly. And the more you practice observing and analyzing, the more you'll hone that intuition and become a master at deciphering those hidden messages.
Wow, this is making me realize how much I've been missing.
Really?
It's like I've been walking around with blinders on,
Wow.
focusing so much on what people are saying
Yeah.
that I've ignored all those other layers of communication.
And the truth is, those nonverbal cues are often more reliable than words.
Really? Why is that?
Well, because they're harder to control consciously.
Oh, interesting.
They're the whispers of the subconscious, the truth that leaks out despite our best efforts to mask it.
That is mind-blowing. I feel like I'm just scratching the surface of this whole world of nonverbal communication.
And the best part is, the more you learn about it,
Uh-huh.
the more you realize how much there is to discover.
Wow.
It's like unlocking a secret code. That helps you understand not only others, but also yourself.
Oh, that's interesting. This deep dive is already changing how I see my own interactions.
It is.
I'm starting to become more aware of my own nonverbal cues.
Oh, that's great.
Those little tells that might be revealing more than I intend.
Yeah, it's like holding up a mirror to your own behavior.
Exactly.
That's a crucial step. By becoming more aware of our own masks,
Right.
we can start to choose which ones we wear and when.
Yeah.
Rather than letting them control us unconsciously,
Uh-huh.
we can become more authentic and intentional in our interactions.
This is such empowering stuff. It's like taking back control of our communication
Yeah,
and
totally.
becoming more conscious creators of the impressions we make.
Exactly. It's about moving from unconscious reactivity to conscious choice in our
I
interactions.
like that.
But before we get too ahead of ourselves,
Okay.
let's dive deeper into some practical techniques for decoding those nonverbal cues.
Okay. Sounds good.
We'll explore specific examples and exercises you can use to,
Mm-hmm.
hone your observational skills and become a master at seeing through masks.
All right, let's do it.
Welcome back. I'm excited to delve into those practical techniques we were just talking about. Let's start with something as simple as a handshake. You might think, it's just a formality, but trust me, a handshake can reveal a lot about the power dynamics at play.
A handshake. Really? I'm intrigued. What kind of things should we be paying attention to?
Well, think about the pressure. A firm handshake can convey confidence and assertiveness, while a weak grip might suggest submissiveness or insecurity.
Interesting. So a limp handshake could be a sign that someone is feeling a bit intimidated or unsure of themselves.
Exactly. But it's not just about the pressure. Pay attention to the positioning of the hands. A dominant handshake, where the other person's hand is on top, can be a subtle way of asserting control.
So if someone twists their hand so that theirs ends up on top, that could be a subconscious power play.
Precisely. And on the flip side, if someone offers their hand with their palm facing upwards, it can signal a willingness to yield or defer to the other person.
Wow, I never realized there was so much psychology packed into a simple handshake. I'm definitely going to be paying more attention to those from now on. But what about facial expressions? Those seemed a lot more complex to decode.
They can be, but there are some key microexpressions to watch out for. For example, genuine smiles involve the muscles around the eyes crinkling up, creating those crow's feet wrinkles.
So a real smile reaches the eyes, while a fake smile stays mostly in the mouth.
Exactly. And if you see someone smile fading too quickly, it could indicate that they're trying to mask their true feelings.
Fascinating. I'm starting to see faces in a whole new light now. It's like those subtle muscle movements are telling a story of their own.
They absolutely are. Another telltale sign is eye contact. Direct eye contact can convey, confidence, engagement, and sincerity, but too much eye contact can be perceived as aggressive or intimidating.
Right. It's all about finding that balance. Too little eye contact can seem evasive or untrustworthy, but too much can feel like you're staring someone down.
Exactly. And pay attention to pupil dilation. Dilated pupils can be a sign of interest or attraction, while constricted pupils might suggest dislike or disinterest.
Wow, I'm learning so much. I never realized how much our eyes reveal about our inner state.
They're called the windows to the soul for a reason. But remember, context is everything. These nonverbal cues need to be interpreted within the specific situation and considering the individual's baseline behavior.
Right? We can't jump to conclusions based on isolated cues. But what about those times when someone's words and actions seem to contradict each other? How do we reconcile those mixed signals?
Those inconsistencies are often the most revealing. They can point to hidden emotions, internal conflicts, or even outright deception. Let's say someone is congratulating you on a promotion, but their tone is flat, their smile is strained, and their body language is closed off. Those nonverbal cues are screaming that they're not actually thrilled for you, despite their words.
That's such a common experience. Like when someone says, I'm fine, but their whole demeanor says otherwise.
Exactly. In those situations, trust your gut. Your intuition is picking up on those inconsistencies, those red flags that something's not quite right.
So it's about learning to trust that inner voice, that sense that something's off, even if we can't immediately explain why.
Precisely. And remember, reading people isn't about becoming a cynic or assuming everyone is trying to deceive you. It's about developing a deeper understanding of human behavior, appreciating the complexities of communication, and navigating social interactions with more awareness and intention.
This is all about becoming more conscious and mindful in our interactions, isn't it? It's about recognizing that we're all sending and receiving these nonverbal signals all the time, whether we realize it or not.
Exactly. And the more we understand those signals, the more effectively we can communicate and connect with others. But remember, observing others is only half the equation. It's equally important to become aware of our own nonverbal communication. How do we come across to others? What are our masks revealing and what are they concealing?
It's funny you mention that because this whole conversation is making me hyper-aware of my own body language. I'm suddenly noticing how often I fidget or cross my arms, and I'm wondering what those habits are saying about me.
That's a great first step. Self-awareness is crucial in this process. Start paying attention to how your body language changes in different situations. Do you become more animated when you're talking about something you're passionate about? Do you tend to close off when you're feeling stressed or anxious?
I definitely notice that I tend to avoid eye contact when I'm feeling unsure of myself.
That's a common response, and by becoming aware of those patterns, you can start to consciously adjust your body language to project the image you want to convey.
So it's not just about decoding other people's masks, it's about becoming more aware of our own and using them strategically.
Precisely. It's about taking control of your nonverbal communication and using it to enhance your interactions, build stronger relationships, and achieve your goals.
This is making me rethink my whole approach to social situations. I'm starting to see everything through a new lens, like I've been given this amazing set of X-ray glasses that allow me to see beneath the surface.
That's the beauty of becoming a student of human nature. It opens up a whole new world of understanding and awareness.
But I have to admit, I'm also feeling a bit overwhelmed. It's like there's so much to pay attention to now. How do we avoid becoming paranoid or overly analytical in our interactions?
That's a valid concern. It's important to find a balance between observation and intuition. Don't overthink every interaction or try to analyze every single cue. Trust your gut feelings. They're often based on a subconscious assessment of a person's energy and intentions.
So it's about finding that sweet spot between conscious observation and trusting our instincts. But what about cultural differences? How do we avoid misinterpreting someone's behavior based on our own cultural biases?
That's an excellent point. Cultural context is crucial when interpreting nonverbal cues. What might be considered rude or disrespectful in one culture could be perfectly acceptable in another.
Right, like direct eye contact being seen as respectful in some cultures but confrontational in others.
Exactly. It's important to be aware of those cultural nuances and to avoid making assumptions based on our own limited perspectives.
So we need to be mindful of our own cultural biases and do our research on the customs and norms of the people we're interacting with.
Precisely. Cultural sensitivity is crucial in navigating the complexities of human interaction. We need to approach each encounter with a sense of curiosity and a willingness to learn from those who are different from us.
This is all so fascinating. I'm realizing that there's so much more to communication than just the words we speak. It's like we're all part of this intricate dance of nonverbal cues, constantly sending and receiving messages on a subconscious level.
Exactly. And the more we understand that dance, the more gracefully we can move through the world, building stronger connections and navigating social situations with more confidence and ease. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a little challenge. Pay close attention to how people treat those who can do nothing for them. Service workers, homeless people, strangers, even animals. It's like a litmus test for empathy.
That's a great challenge. It's easy to be charming and polite when you're trying to impress someone or get something you want, but how you treat those who are perceived as less powerful speaks volumes about your true character.
Precisely. And it's not just about grand gestures of kindness, it's about those everyday interactions. How you respond to a cashier who's having a tough day, how you acknowledge a homeless person asking for spare change, even how you treat the waiter who brings you the wrong order.
It's about seeing the humanity in everyone, regardless of their social standing or circumstances.
Exactly. And it's in those seemingly insignificant moments that we reveal our true colors, the masks slip, and our genuine attitudes and beliefs shine through.
So by paying attention to how people treat those who are perceived as less powerful, we can gain valuable insights into their character. But what about those situations where someone is going out of their way to be nice to us? How do we know if their kindness is genuine or if they have an ulterior motive?
Ah, yes. The classic dilemma of deciphering genuine kindness from calculated manipulation. It's like walking through a social minefield, one wrong step, and you could end up getting played.
It's especially tricky when you're dealing with someone who's particularly skilled at charming their way into your good graces. They know exactly what to say, how to act, and which buttons to push to get what they want.
Precisely. They're masters of impression management. They've honed their social skills to perfection, creating a carefully curated persona that's designed to disarm and influence.
So how do we avoid falling prey to their tactics?
The key is to pay attention to inconsistencies between their words and their actions. Does their behavior match their claims? Do they consistently demonstrate the values they profess?
It's like that friend who's always preaching about the importance of loyalty, but then gossips about everyone behind their back. Their actions betray their words.
Exactly. Look for those red flags, those moments when their mask slips and their true intentions peek through.
So we're looking for those discrepancies, those telltale signs that something's not quite right. But what are some specific things we should watch out for?
One thing to pay close attention to is how they treat you when they need something from you. Do they suddenly become overly attentive and complimentary? Do they shower you with praise and affection only to withdraw once they've gotten what they wanted?
It's like those people who only reach out when they need a favor. Their kindness feels transactional, a means to an end.
Exactly. It's not genuine care or concern, it's strategic manipulation disguised as friendship.
So we need to be wary of those who only show up when they need something. But what about those who seem to be genuinely kind and supportive? How do we distinguish between true altruism and hidden agendas?
It's a tough one. Even the most discerning observer can be fooled sometimes. But there are a few telltale signs that can help us differentiate between genuine kindness and calculated manipulation.
Okay, I'm all ears. Give me those telltale signs.
One thing to consider is their track record. Have they consistently demonstrated kindness and generosity in the past? Or does their good behavior seem to coincide with a particular need or desire?
It's like checking someone's references before hiring them. You want to make sure their past behavior aligns with their current claim.
Precisely. And if their history is full of inconsistencies or questionable actions, it's a good indicator that their current motives might not be as pure as they seem.
So we're looking for a pattern of genuine kindness, not just isolated acts of generosity that conveniently align with their own needs. What else should we be paying attention to?
Another key factor is their willingness to make sacrifices for others. Are they willing to put their own needs aside to help someone in need? Or do they always seem to prioritize their own comfort and convenience?
It's like that friend who's always willing to lend a listening ear or offer a shoulder to cry on, even if it means inconveniencing themselves. Their actions demonstrate a genuine desire to help, even when there's nothing in it for them.
Exactly. True kindness often involves a degree of selflessness, a willingness to go above and beyond to support others, even when it requires effort or sacrifice.
So we're looking for those who are willing to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. They back up their words with actions that demonstrate genuine care and compassion.
Precisely. And while it's important to be aware of the potential for manipulation, it's equally crucial to avoid becoming overly cynical or distrustful. Not every act of kindness is a ploy for personal gain.
That's a good reminder. It's about finding that balance between healthy skepticism and open-heartedness. We don't want to become so guarded that we push away genuine connections.
Exactly. It's about cultivating discernment, the ability to recognize those who are worthy of our trust and those who might not have our best interests at heart.
This is making me think about those people who seem to be universally liked and admired. They're charming, charismatic, and always seem to know the right thing to say. But sometimes there's this nagging feeling that something's not quite right, like their persona is too perfect, too polished.
Ah, yes. The allure of the charismatic chameleon. They're masters of social manipulation, seamlessly adapting their behavior to win over every audience. And while their charm can be intoxicating, it's important to remember that charm is often a tool for deception.
So how do we see past the charm offensive and discern their true intentions?
One strategy is to pay attention to how they talk about other people. Do they engage in gossip or negativity? Do they put others down to make themselves look better?
It's like that coworker who's always complimenting you to your face but then spreads rumors about you behind your back. Their two-faced behavior is a red flag.
Exactly. People who are genuinely kind and trustworthy tend to speak positively about others, even when those people aren't present.
So we're looking for consistency in their behavior, both in how they treat us and how they treat others.
Precisely. And if you notice a pattern of negativity or backstabbing, it's a good indicator that their charm might be masking something less savory.
This is all about becoming more aware of those subtle cues that reveal people's true nature. But what about our own masks? Are there ways to become more conscious of the roles we play and the impressions we create?
Absolutely. Self-awareness is crucial in this process. Take some time to reflect on how your behavior changes in different situations.
It's like putting ourselves under the microscope and observing our own social performances.
Exactly. Notice how you act around your boss compared to how you act with your closest friends.
I know I'm definitely more reserved and professional at work, but with my friends I let loose and show my goofy side.
That's natural. We all adapt our behavior to some extent to fit the social context. But by becoming more conscious of those shifts, we can start to question why we feel the need to wear certain masks in certain situations.
It's like asking ourselves, what am I trying to hide? What am I afraid of revealing?
Precisely. And often, Those fears are rooted in past experiences or societal expectations.
Like that fear of being judged or rejected if we don't conform to certain norms.
Exactly. And those fears can drive us to wear masks that don't fully align with our true selves.
So how do we break free from those limiting beliefs and become more comfortable showing up as our authentic selves?
It starts with acceptance. Embrace the fact that you are multifaceted and complex. You have different sides to your personality, and it's okay to express those different sides in different contexts.
It's like giving ourselves permission to be fully human, with all our quirks and contradictions.
Exactly. And the more we embrace our authentic selves, the less we'll feel the need to hide behind masks.
This is such a powerful reminder. It's not about becoming someone we're not, but rather about shedding those layers that are no longer serving us.
Persistently, it's about stepping into our power and expressing our true selves with confidence and authenticity.
This deep dive is making me rethink my whole approach to social interactions. I'm starting to see everything through a new lens, like I've been given this amazing set of X-ray glasses that allow me to see beneath the surface.
That's the beauty of becoming a student of human nature. It opens up a whole new world of understanding and awareness. But we've covered a lot of ground today, and I know this can feel like a lot to process. So before we jump into the final part of our deep dive, let's take a quick moment to recap what we've learned so far.
That sounds like a great idea. I feel like we've gone from basic observation skills to advanced spy techniques in the span of an hour. It's a lot to digest.
It definitely is. But the key takeaway is that everyone wears masks for a variety of reasons. These masks are both conscious and unconscious, and they serve a multitude of purposes, from self-protection to social manipulation. But the good news is, even the most skilled mask wearers can't completely conceal their true feelings.
Right. We've learned that there are always leaks, those tiny cracks in the facade that betray what's really going on beneath the surface. And those leaks can show up in everything from a fleeting microexpression to a subtle shift in posture to an inconsistency between someone's words and their actions.
Exactly. And by becoming more aware of those subtle cues and learning to interpret them within the context of the situation, we can start to see through those masks and gain a deeper understanding of the people around us. But it's not just about becoming a master observer of others, it's also about developing self-awareness, recognizing our own masks, and choosing to express ourselves more authentically.
It's about taking control of our nonverbal communication and using it intentionally to build stronger connections, enhance our interactions, and navigate the complexities of the social world with more confidence and ease.
Precisely. And remember, this is a journey, not a destination. The more you practice these skills, the more intuitive they'll become. So be patient with yourself, stay curious, and enjoy the process of discovering the hidden language of human behavior.
This is all so empowering. It feels like we're finally getting access to the owner's manual for human interaction. Welcome back. We're ready to wrap up our deep dive into masks and how to see through them. We've covered a lot, from those tiny leaks to cultural differences. So how do we actually use this in everyday life?
That's the key, isn't it? It's not just about being curious. It's about using these insights to navigate social situations, build stronger relationships, and just live a more fulfilling life overall.
Exactly. So strategically, we've learned to spot those inconsistencies, those tells. But how do we use that information without becoming too suspicious or judgmental?
That's a great question. It's about finding that balance, observation, and empathy. We have to remember everyone wears masks, and not all for bad reasons. Sometimes it's just self-preservation, fitting in, avoiding conflict, right?
So instead of jumping to conclusions about someone based on one tiny thing, we need to think about the whole situation, their usual behavior, give them the benefit of the doubt.
Exactly. It's about approaching each interaction with curiosity, compassion, not suspicion, not judgment. It's like being an anthropologist studying a new culture. You're there to observe, understand, learn, not judge.
I love that. Takes the pressure off, right? We don't have to be mind readers.
Right. And sometimes the most revealing moments, they come when we least expect them. How people react under stress, when they're excited, caught off guard, those moments can show us a lot.
This makes me think about, I was watching a group of friends at a birthday party once. Everyone seemed happy for the birthday girl. But when it came time for the group photo, one friend kind of hung back, almost like she didn't want to be in the picture.
Interesting.
It made me wonder, was there some tension there? Maybe some jealousy, even though everyone was acting happy?
That's a great example. It's those tiny moments, those seemingly insignificant things that can be the most telling. And it doesn't mean she's a bad person or doesn't care about the birthday girl, just that there might be more to the relationship than we see at first.
Like we're all playing roles, and sometimes those roles clash. But by watching those subtle cues, we can start to understand those relationships better.
Yeah, and navigate them with more sensitivity, awareness. That's where the real power is, building those deeper connections.
Moving beyond the surface, really seeing each other.
Embracing that complexity. We're all flawed, we all have different sides. It's about approaching that with compassion, curiosity.
What a journey this deep dive has been. It's totally changed how I see communication, relationships. It's like I've got this superpower now.
I love that. It's been great sharing this with you. But remember, understanding human nature, it's a lifelong thing, always more to learn, observe, discover.
So to wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a challenge. This week, pay attention to those nonverbal cues in your own interactions. Notice how your body language changes. Become a student of your own behavior.
That's fantastic. And remember, this isn't about being super critical of yourself or others. It's about awareness, embracing that we're all human, appreciating the beauty of it all.
What an eye-opening conversation. Thank you for sharing your expertise.
My pleasure.
And to our listeners, thanks for joining us. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more deep dives into the human experience. Until next time, keep exploring, keep observing, keep connecting.